What's up guys, Nathan here, and today we are doing the start procedure for the P-51D and TF-51D Mustang in DCS world. So, the first thing you want to do is you're going to go to your communications menu, and you want to go to air traffic control. You want to go whichever airport you're at, and you're going to click request startup. So you can see over here that it says request startup, and you should get a response from thing, except I forgot to turn on my radio. So without using the generator, you can also go to ground crew, electric power, and click on. So you can use that to turn on the ground power. So should see it turn on in just a sec. There we go. Okay. Now we can talk to air traffic control. Request startup. That's one thing to keep in mind. If your power is not on, you will not be able to talk to air traffic control. So now you can see we are cleared for startup, and we're going to get to this in a moment. First, we are going to do the rest of the startup. So, first thing you want to do is set the flaps all the way up. You can either do that by clicking it, you can do it by using a keyboard shortcut, or if you have it assigned to a key on a joystick, that also works. Next, you're going to take the carburetor cold air and carburetor warm air controls, and you're going to make sure they are both all the way forward. Next, you want to set the rudder to 5 degrees. This is going to counteract the torque from the engine, so that you aren't turning and your flight is getting messed up. Next, you want to take the oil control cover and the coolant control cover, and you're going to set both those switches to open. Now we're going to close these after takeoff, but for takeoff we want to have them set to open. Next, we are going to set the throttle. We're going to have that open a little bit, and then you're going to set the propeller RPM all the way forward. Next, we want to set the fuel booster on, and you're going to take the primer and you're going to hold that up for a few seconds and then release it. Next, you're going to go to the ignition and set it to both, and the fuel shutoff valve to on. Next, we are going to uncage the tool here. So you're going to there. So you're going to click it and then use the wheel on the mouse to uncage it, and you'll see the red cage flag goes away. Next, we are going to set the parking brake. So you're going to pull that out, hold the brakes, release the brakes, and then release the parking handle. I also find it useful to pull up this menu over here, and you can do that by pressing right control and enter. Next, we're going to come over to these switches here, and we are going to flip all of these 4 switches to on, and at this point we are ready to start the engine. So what we want to do is you're going to take the starter switch cover, you're going to flip that up, and then you're going to hold this up. You're going to see the propeller starts to turn, and you're going to come over to the mixture control select, and you're going to set that to run by right clicking it once. And you will see now the propeller is turning fast, and you will see that the manifold pressure gauge changes. Now we are ready to taxi the runway. So we are now going to select request a taxi to runway. And you can see up here, it is requesting a taxi to the runway. So, when taxiing, so you can see we're cleared for taxiing. And when taxiing, there's a couple controls that you're going to want to know. First is using the rudder. Now, this can typically be done by using X and Z, or I will be using my joystick. So, if you look down at the pedals down there, you can see when using the rudder, you can see they're moving, And also when using the brake, the toes go forward a little bit. Oh, I forgot that disengage the parking brake. Okay. But after this, there's a couple of key things you're going to know. First of all, you're going to want to know how to use the brakes. So on the keyboard, by default, it is W, and I also have it on a button on my joystick. And for wheel control, you're also going to want to know the wheel brakes. So I believe by default, that should be left Alt and W and left Control and W. You also, so rudder, the wheel brakes, and the brakes are going to be helpful. You're also going to want to know how to stick your head out of the cockpit. So I believe that should be right control, right shift, and then by using the keys, the number pad keys, you can look up, down, left, right. I'm going to have my head out to the left, and once you're ready to go, click and hold the brakes, release the brakes, and you should start rolling. So you're also going to want to pull the stick back a little bit. And the parking brakes, the wheel brakes are going to be very helpful for making those sharper turns. So we're going to taxi to the runway. And once you get there, we'll wait a little bit and ask for takeoff. Okay, so now we're at the runway, and at this point, we're going to go to the communications menu, and we're going to click Request Takeoff. Okay, so we are cleared for takeoff, and I'm going to go in second person for this. So we're going to use the rudder and wheel brakes, same as when we were taxiing. And we are going to line up with the runway. Now the goal is to try and be lined up with as much as you can with this white line here. So being lined up with that white line is going to make sure you're as lined up with the center of the runway as possible. So at this point, you can close your cockpit by pressing Control, left Control, and C. You're going to hold that down until your cockpit is completely closed, as seen here. So I'm also going to set my mirror. So at this point, you're going to hold down the brakes and increase throttle until you're about between 30 and 40 manifold pressure. When you're ready to release the brakes, and you'll start rolling. Now, you're going to want to hold your stick back so that your nose doesn't come up too quickly, and you're going to slowly increase the throttle until you approach about 100 miles an hour. Let up on the stick, and you should start to lift off. Now, once you're off the ground, you're going to bring in the landing gear. To do this, you're going to press G, or if you have it assigned to a button on a joystick. So you'll notice the light down here goes from green to orange, or orangish red. So this green means that the landing gear is down and locked and safe, and the orangish red means that it is transitioning, so it's unsafe to land. So now you're in the air, and you don't want to keep your engine at full throttle, so you're going to want to decrease your throttle, and you're also going to want to decrease this propeller RPM. So you want your manifold pressure and RPM to be in the green. Having it outside of the green for too long will stress out the engine, and it can lead to your engine shutting down. So now that we're in the air, we're going to close these covers from earlier, and if you'd like to, you can adjust these to make it easier to control your aircraft. So it takes a little bit of balancing, but if you have it set up right, it can make controlling this a lot easier. So now you're in the air, flying around, and that is the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.